perfect in their sight. This doll was fashioned out of clay. To the earth it must return someday. But a soul from above, we were made from love, and this love will never fade away. Behold, 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 all beauty is in your eyes. Behold, 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 all beauty is in your eyes. The one who made all beautiful things, the one who made all beautiful things, the one who made all beautiful things, created you, perfect in their sight. Thank you.
It's with great pleasure that I introduce today's speaker, Donna Smith. She's a Unity Worldwide Ministry spiritual leader whose training has focused on pastoral care. She's most happy when she can help others find peace and joy in their lives. Donna is also a Unity chaplain, a Taizé prayer leader and trainer, a Reiki master and practitioner, a nonviolent communication teacher, and a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles, a teacher of the Way of Mastery. She's also active in our Cares and Concerns ministry. I've known Donna for a number of years, and it's been a pleasure to watch her grow in her ministry. I'm sure we have a real treat in store for us today. Donna.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, it is a little down. Thank you. What a team. Susie and Sean, I love the music. Thank you so much for that. It's really good to see everyone this morning. I want to tell you a true story about me. Okay, I was very young, and I had just graduated from Merritt Davis School of Commerce as a legal secretary. They even taught us how to talk and walk. When you walked, with each step, you had to touch your knees together. I thought it was weird then also. I wouldn't begin to try it today. I would knock myself over, I'm pretty sure. So I had in mind exactly what I wanted. I wanted to work for a law firm, and I had picked Sahlstrom, Lombard, and Vincent in Eugene because they needed a legal secretary. I knew I was very well qualified, and I knew exactly how much I wanted each month, $375. Now you know how old I am. That's not even a car payment today. So I went in for an interview with Mr. Sahlstrom. And I went in with the smile on my face, walking, doing my niche thing, you know, this and that, and with all of this confidence. Because I was able to defend my qualifications, and I knew I was worth what I wanted. However, he was a bit intimidating. When he was sitting in his chair and I was standing, he was taller than me. So when I walked in and he's sitting in his chair, it's like, you know, what have I got myself into? Well, I went in and I gave him my resume, and he asked me a few questions, and he said he would hire me for $275 a month. And then I think I went into a dream state, because I heard myself say these words: I would love to work at this firm, but I need $375 to do that. And he was taken aback. And I heard him, well, I heard myself actually, continue to say, I'm very well qualified, and I can do an excellent job, and that's how much I require. And he looked at me in silence for a long time, and I almost fainted. I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done, right? But I tried to look very confident. And finally he said, if I paid you $375 a month, I would have to raise all the other legal secretaries here. And I said, well, that would be your decision. He actually hired me for $375 and asked me to come in Monday morning. And so I walked out with my knees together like I'm supposed to, right? And I got out to my car and I just started jumping and I did it, you know, and I was so happy. And then all of a sudden I stopped and I said, how did I do that? How did I do that? You know, because the whole time I felt like I was just going to faint. But it all came out and I did it. I learned a very, very big lesson that day. And contrary to what you and probably everybody else in my life think, I used to be very shy. I really was. I was very shy. And at that point, I was what you would call shy. So how did I do that? Well, now I know what happened. I found the courage to follow my heart. And I asked for what I truly wanted. And it worked. That was a pivotal day for me because it has guided me my whole life since then. I had a taste of courage and I liked it. I really liked it. And it also reminded me of how much my parents encouraged me to be independent and confident. They were wonderful at that. So here's what I really want you to hear this morning. Everyone has courage. Courage is one of those divine traits that permeates us as divine beings. It does not go away. It is part of us. It is there with the love and the light and all the other beautiful, loving attributes that are divine beings that we are, followed by, the compassion, the zeal, the peace, the joy, all those things that make us happy because we're divine creations. Now, you might say, oh, no, I'm not a courageous person. And what I would say to you is that might be true of your actions, but it's not true of you. You cannot lose your courage because that's part of who you are. So you do have the courage to follow your heart, your intuition, your passions. You do. But it takes tremendous courage for you to see that within yourself and be guided by that in your life. It does take courage. And whether you know it or not, you came here to become incarnate in this world through that great courage within you. All of the light beings around you applaud you for taking this step to incarnate because it does take a lot of courage. So what happens is that the courage gets covered over with fear. We allow the fear to keep us from doing the things we want to do, saying the things we want to say, and living the life that we want to live. Now, the fears could be very much in your awareness, your conscious mind. However, most of them are probably in your subconscious mind. Bruce Lipton tells us that 95% of our consciousness is subconscious. In other words, we're not aware of it. And that's pretty scary because that subconscious mind is controlling our lives and we don't even know it sometimes. Now, I think most of us here know about those fears that keep us from those things that we want in life. They're pretty well open to us. You know, those things like, well, I can't open a business, sell things. I mean, I love to make these things, but who would want them? You know, I'm not smart enough to do that. I don't have any way of getting the money. You know, or we listen to the naysayers in our life, the ones that may or may not mean well, I'm not sure. But they tell you, well, you can't do that. You're not smart enough. You know, what makes you think you can do that? And what we do is we allow all of that to come into our lives, and we end up ignoring our hearts. And our heart is there always for us with those messages of courage. So it's very important, and I would say even critical, that we listen to the wisdom of our hearts. Because the wisdom of our hearts is what's going to get us out of the messes that we have created as a humanity. That wasn't a judgment. That's just what's happened. So, you know what happens when you aren't listening to all that chatter in your mind about why you can't do something? You just do it, don't you? You come from your heart and you just do it. Or when there's a dire situation, you know, when you just do it out of courage. And those are the times that you don't have time to think, isn't it? Because when you start thinking and listening to all that chatter in your mind, it talks you out of it, doesn't it? It talks you out of those things that you desire, those passions in your heart. And I'm sure that many of you have probably had those moments when you didn't listen to that and you did some courageous act. I think it'd be very safe to say that every one of us has done that at some point in our lives. But it's not that extraordinary. In fact, it's more ordinary if you open your eyes and think about it and quit listening to all that chatter in your mind. Remember that woman who lifted a car off of her son or her husband many years ago? I mean, it's been many, many years ago. But who has the strength to do that? Even in a man, lifting a car off of somebody. But she did it. And I'm sure if she had stopped to think about it, it would not have happened. But she didn't. She just did what she had to do. And it even defied what science says is possible. Yeah, all things are possible. But we get bogged down when we have that time to think. So it's like time is a roadblock sometimes. I know we have to think, but we let that thinking get involved of listening to our heart. But time gives us that little voice in our head a lot of room to create fearful scenarios. What if? What if I do this? And then the mind just tells you all these things that can happen. Remember when I was skydiving? I went skydiving. Was I fearful of jumping out of a plane for the first time, thousands of miles above Earth? No doubt. Yes. You know, all kinds of thoughts ran through my head. If I had listened to them, I would not have had that experience. But I went anyway. And I did feel the fear, but I did not let it stop me from doing what I wanted to do. And because of that pivotal instance that I just expressed to you in getting that job, I have gone through my life doing things whether I had the fear in me or not. I just did them. By the way, today is the 1-year anniversary of when I jumped out of that plane. August 3rd last year. I went to Spain when I was 68 and walked 8 to 10 hours a day. And I would have never thought that I could do that, except that I had in my mind I wasn't going to let anybody stop me. It was in my heart, I wanted to do this, and I did it. And it was a wonderful experience. I went to Israel at a time when everybody in my life was saying, don't go, it's dangerous, it's dangerous. I listened to my heart, I felt no danger. And I went and had a very memorable experience because I didn't let that fear control my actions. Now, there's a big difference that I really want you to hear this morning. We all have fears in our lives. And the big question is, will you allow those fears to control your life and prevent you from doing all those things you want to do? That's the big question. It is your choice every moment. It's your choice. I'm reading a book right now by Dennis Merritt Jones, When Fear Speaks, Listen. There are messages in those fears. And I encourage you actually to read this book. In fact, I'm going to do a plug here. Bonnie Anderson is teaching a 4-week Zoom class on this book. I think it was August 8th that starts. So if you need information about that, just see me. Anyway, it's a wonderful book to help you through those times. In The Way of Mastery, it reads, "Let no fear claim authority over the mind any longer. This does not mean that you will not occasionally feel it like a wave through you. The difference is that you need not value it." So every fear I have faced has been absolutely nowhere as big as that little voice told me it was going to be, or as big as the naysayers said it was going to be. But it's taken me a while, to really get a handle on that. There were years where I would faint if I had to get up in front of people. All of those things that we do in our lives. If you have the courage to try it, you'll find out that it's fun. It's really fun. And there is nothing to fear. Some fears I know are based on very huge events in your life. And it might take a while to find the courage to take the step to let those fears go. But take the little steps. Take the little steps. And because it's always possible, and it must be a process where you are very kind and gentle and patient with yourself through this. That's very, very important. But it also involves you to go to the wisdom of your heart. If you stay in your head, it's not going to happen. The head is very important for certain things. It is not important for these kind of things. You must go to the wisdom of your heart. And when you learn to follow the wisdom of your heart, absolutely wonderful things happen, and everything seems to fall in place. And people are going to start looking at you like, what's going on here? I mean, you're so happy. Things are just working for you. And that's because you're following your heart. That's how it works. Some of those fears that are stopping you, I would like to present a process to you this morning to help you. I love to visualize. It really helps me put things into perspective. So let's just say that you have a situation wherein, you're just filled with fear about it. First thing you do is you write down, what are those fears about? Write down every fear that you're feeling about the situation. And then I want you to envision this field. It has rocks in it. There is a rock for every one of your fears. So if you lifted that rock, you would see that fear. Okay. So for as many fears as you have with this situation, there's a rock out there. But there's also a rock that has under it courage. So if you're not sure about the fears in your situation, again, ask your heart. Your heart will guide you. Your heart knows everything about you. It will guide you. It will give you that information if you just stop and listen to it. So you have your list of fears, okay? And so you go through this process and you lift up in your mind. This good thing for your mind now is you lift up that rock and you say, okay, my fear of people not loving me, let's say. and you work on that fear. And you start, for instance, in this particular case, with loving yourself. Because as soon as you love yourself, love comes to you. It's very easy for people to love others who love themselves. So you take each one of those fears and you work through it. Now, you are not going to be able to lift the rock that has courage under it until you address all those fears. So that's just a wonderful way to visualize those things in your life that you are fearful of and how to work through them. And remember again, nothing is as big as your head is telling you it is. It's just not. And in fact, fear isn't even real. I know it seems real. And our experiences make it seem very real. But in truth, it is not. But here's the good thing. The moment you pick up that rock and it says courage, that tells you you've made it. You've let go of all those things that are preventing you from doing what you want to do. And that feeling of freedom is one of the most amazing feelings in the world. We can live our life as we desire, and we can do it now. And this is not a Pollyanna statement. You did not come here to suffer. As Abraham said through Esther Hicks, you did not come forth to get things done. You came forth to dream and move toward your dreams. And you do that without fear. So every time that you realize that fear is controlling some part of your life, stopping you from realizing those dreams, I encourage you to use this process or any other process that will help you to face and release those fears. Because remember, those fears will not go away until you face them. Because if you don't face them, what you're doing is you're just stuffing them down. They will always come back up, sometime, somewhere, probably at the most inconvenient time, too. So your courage affects everyone around you. In fact, all acts of courage are inspirations to others to find the courage within them. I want to close this morning with a story from Dennis Jones' book that I just mentioned, When Fear Speaks, Listen. Once upon a time, a big, gruff, tough, and battle-hardened samurai warrior went to see a little meek monk. Monk, he barked in an angry voice, accustomed to instant obedience, teach me about heaven and hell. The monk slowly looked up at the mighty warrior and replied with utter disdain, teach you about heaven and hell? I couldn't teach you about anything. Look at you. You're dumb, you're dirty, you smell bad. Your mother's probably as ugly as you are. You're a disgrace, an embarrassment to the samurai class. Get out of my sight, I can't stand you. Well, the samurai got furious. As his anger grew, he shook and he became red in the face, speechless as he trembled with rage. He drew his sword and prepared to slay the monk. Looking directly in the samurai's eyes with great compassion, the monk calmly said, that's hell. The samurai froze in place, instantly realizing the compassion and wisdom of the monk who had risked his life to show him hell. He dropped his sword and silently fell to his knees. As the anger and rage drained from his body, the samurai began to weep. Filled with appreciation and humility, he surrendered and collapsed into the monk's open and loving arms. And the monk said softly, and this is heaven. So don't let your fears create a life of hell for you. Would you join me in meditation now? So I invite you to relax your body Let that wonderful, comfortable chair just enfold your body, support it. Close your eyes and breathe. In this relaxed state, think of someone or something that brings you genuine feelings of love and appreciation, happiness, and hold that in your heart. And so your thoughts and your heart have created for you a place of deep, deep wisdom. Deep freedom, courage, and compassion, that peace and that joy. All of those wonderful, loving things that are your true essence. You are there now. So just rest here for a few moments as I share these words from Eric Roth, from The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. So Eric says, for what it's worth, it's never too late or too early to be wherever you want to be. There is no time limit. Stop whenever you want. You can change or stay the same. There are no rules to this thing. We can make the best or the worst of it. I hope you make the best of it. And I hope you see things that startle you. I hope you feel things you never felt before. And I hope you meet people with a different point of view. I hope you live a life you're proud of. If you find that you're not, I hope you have the courage to start all over again. Let's just sit in the silence with these words. And as you bring your attention back into this room, I want you to know that I see the courage in all of you. So it's time for you to see it within you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. Now's an opportunity for anyone who would like to respond to Donna's words today.
In 2005, after living in Anchorage for 4 years, I was returning to the lower 48, the outside, as they say. And I had to, when I went up there, I went in tandem with a friend in my van, but on the way back, I was alone with 2 dogs and a cat. So at a rest stop somewhere along the way, I met this woman who was being driven by a a younger woman as a driver. She was an elderly woman. And so I told her what I was doing. I was driving the 3,000 miles by myself. And she said, well, you have lots of pluck. Now, I don't know exactly what pluck is, but now when I'm facing a situation that requires courage, I think, you have lots of pluck.
Yes.
You can do this. And that's why I'm board president. I mean,
Yeah, that takes a lot of courage. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Reverend. Appreciate your sermon greatly. About fear and about jumping out of airplanes, I've done that too, but it wasn't the jumping out of the airplane that had me frightened. It was going off the 40-foot training tower in preparation. I dreaded it for days. And when the time came, I swore I wasn't going to scream, embarrass myself. And I did jump, and I screamed.
And you screamed, yes. Yay, good for you. Yeah, that was an experience, but what I did was I just pretended I was a bird and I was flying. That helped me from screaming.
I have to get this mask off, I think. The sentence that sticks to my mind from your sermon this morning is, anything is possible. Anything. If you're ill and you think there's no hope, anything is possible. I think I'll put that on my mirror in my bathroom.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very encouraging words. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
No, I don't think, me wanting to be a duck would be possible. I can't change that. But you know what I mean. Your dreams and your desires, they're all possible. They're all possible.
Thank you.
And I just want to also remind you, worrying is praying for something you don't want. Remember that. You're actually praying for what you don't want. So start visualizing what you want.
My greatest fear was not physical fear of being harmed, but I was on a jury. And there were two young boys. One was a obvious leader. He was 15 years old. The other one was quite small and obviously a follower, and he was 16 years old. What brought them to trial was that the 15-year-old shot and killed 3 people. One was riding a motorcycle toward him to pass, and he shot him. The other 2 were in a pickup truck, and he shot them through the windshield. The 16-year-old boy was in a tractor, that he had gotten to start, and he was the one that knew how to drive it. Now, this was in a rural area in Washington. The 2 men who were shot were very well known in the community and very well liked. When it came to trial, and I was chosen to be on the jury, I didn't know really any more about it except what I'd read in the paper, and every time it talked about the murders, it said the 2 boys, or they. When I got to the jury, all of the jurors said they when they said killed these men. And that bothered me. And it bothered me because we did learn that the 16-year-old, the quieter one, the one who was not a leader, would be tried as an adult. The 15-year-old who performed the crime was tried as a minor. I was chosen on the jury of the 16-year-old. And it was obvious during all the questioning and everything that this 16-year-old might possibly face the death sentence. I couldn't handle that. Anyway, it went on for a long time, and I thought, I've got to go with the rest, because I'm not known in this community. I'm an outsider. We had just moved there. And I thought, I am going to be ostracized. I'm going to be a pariah. I have to vote yes, and I don't want to. I went home that day and I told my husband, I said, honey, I know I'm not supposed to talk about this trial, but I've got something that I don't know what to do. But I've made a decision, I'm going to vote guilty. Well, the next morning, driving from where our farm was to the trial, I pulled over and I cried. And I prayed. And I went back and I voted not guilty. And before I did that, I told the rest in the room, I said, and from my questions, I was already just about a pariah because they didn't like the questions. And I told the group, I am going over to this part of the room with my coffee. Do not approach me. Don't anyone come up to me. I have made up my mind and I am voting not guilty. That was the most courage I have ever had to have. And I was so grateful that I pulled the car over and prayed and was able to do it.
Yes, you were following your heart. That's a difficult situation. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Carol. This is what we're talking about this morning. Yeah. Any other comments? Sean?
That phrase, when your fears speak, listen, is one of those startling kinds of things that challenge our expectations. And it reminds me of Rumi's poem, The Guest House.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the reason this is important, to listen to our fears, is because if we don't, they will keep clamoring for attention like a kid who doesn't get a sympathetic ear. But you don't have to treat them with such seriousness. Rumi goes on to say, greet them at the door laughing, because they may be sent to you as a teacher from beyond.
Yes, exactly. I love that poem too. I meant to bring that book this morning and I forgot it. But When Fear Speaks, Listen. It's a really, really encouraging book, actually, because we can be in fear, but we don't have to let it control us. Yes, Lily?
I just want to share the Serenity Prayer, which is, and I'll probably get it a little bit wrong. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the bravery to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly. Yes, thank you, Lily. Yeah.
I want to add a short addendum to that. After the trial, the young man went to prison for 12 years. And one Christmas, I got a card from him thanking me. He had found out through his lawyers that I was the one. And then many years later, I got a phone call. And he had married, he had 3 children, and he had a good life, and he was very thankful. So that was a good ending.
All things are possible. I'm glad you shared that because I was going to ask you after the service what happened.
So we have a closing hymn, if you'd rise as you're able, and we'll sing together, When the Heart is in a Holy Place. We extinguish the chalice and close with these words from E.E. Cummings. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. Please join us in forming the closing circle.